This is a special edition of The Word with author CK Brooke. CK, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me again.
Okay, so first I understand that you wanted to get into some corrections from our last interview, so I will let you do that first, and then you can tell us a little bit about why we're having this little special extra edition, and you can tell us about your upcoming release, okay?
Excellent. Okay. Well, there were only just two little corrections I wanted to make from the first interview. And the first correction, Jake, you'll be sad to hear, the Duchess Quest actually is not a sweet romance. I was wrong. A sweet
Oh, wait,
romance,
are you saying that you gave me false information? Did you
I,
lie?
I unknowingly, I honestly didn't know, and I should have known because, this is technically my industry. A sweet romance would mean that there is absolutely zero sex, and that it's just like solely a romance, like a very chaste romance of like two characters. Just the most they ever do is maybe kiss at the end. And so obviously the Duchess Quest, there is a little bit of sex. So it's not a sweet romance; it's a mild romance. So that was the first correction. I wanted to COA, just kind of in
So
case
it's good.
people.
So it's a mild romance.
It's
That's what
a
it's.
mild romance because yeah, it's a yeah.
Well, that's funny. So I guess it's not a sweet romance. Well, that changes everything. Don't you realize
It
that?
changes everything. No, but so
Um,
yeah, I just didn't want to have like faulty information floating out there because I have learned that sweet romance is generally, if you're talking about like a teen romance, geared towards younger readers, minors, and parents, could let them read a sweet romance, and that's not what my book is. My book does have, sex in it that some parents might not want their teenagers or adolescents reading. So I just wanted to, like I said, COA, and it's not a sweet romance. And then the second correction that I wanted to make, and it wasn't really my fault, Jake, it was yours.
what?
And
What are
it
you
was
saying?
that
I made a mistake? That's
because
unthinkable,
okay,
right?
at the end of the first interview, you were like, okay, if you like this book, and this book, then you would like the Duchess Quest, and you wanted me to like name those books. Well, you edited out the part where I said, hey, can I say movies instead of books? And so you,
I
and then
did.
it
Oh
just cut to
no!
me, and then it just cut to me naming all these movies, and I look like an idiot. So I wanted
I
to
realized
say,
that.
so I wanted to say, if you like The Princess Bride by William Goldman or Stardust by Neil Gaiman, then that's the type of book I think that the Duchess Quest is. And so those are the books. We covered the movies, so you cruelly edited out my my
Don't start reading the
clarification of
book.
that, my distinction.
So you've just now exposed my mission of making you look like an idiot. So congratulations.
I'm not helping, but
Yeah, you're
no.
very perceptive though.
So yeah, those are the corrections, and that's all.
Well, okay, so those are the corrections. Now tell us a little bit
Uh,
about why we're having this conversation. This is a prelude to a very important and exciting event in your life.
yes. Yeah, I wanted to come back just to give a little preview, a little announcement that the sequel to the Duchess Quest, entitled The Duchess Inheritance, and that's the second and final book in the Jordinia duology or series, is underway. We are in the very final stages of formatting, and so it should be out in probably less than a month. I don't have an exact release date at the moment of recording this, but I will very soon. And so I just wanted to kind of give everybody a little announcement teaser that book two is coming very, very soon. And if you want to be the first to know when we have a release date, follow me on Facebook.
Yeah, and also, why don't you tell them about your blog because you did feature a Q&A and you offered some
Yeah.
information about what the second book would be like.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I have a killer WordPress blog right now. It's author CK Brooke, and that's Brooke with an E, at .wordpress.com. So author ckbrooke.wordpress.com. I cross post a lot of my blog posts onto 4814, my publisher's
Mhm.
website, and so that's the numbers 48 and the word spelled out 14.com. and you can click on the blogs and you can check out my blogs. And Jake, what you were referring to is I posted a blog post on, I answered 15 fan questions about what to expect in the Duchess Inheritance. They're spoiler free. Nothing is gonna give away major plot points in the first or the second book. So even if you haven't read the first book, you can still read those and it shouldn't spoil you. And then there was something else I recently posted on the Duchess Inheritance, and now I can't remember what it was, but I answered the questions and I posted the cover art and things like that.
Which is really cool. And I found out that, well, I don't know if you mind me saying this, and I guess if you do, I can edit this out, but I had a question specifically. I saw the cover art and I thought it was really cool, and I was wondering who the models were, but it's a mystery. We don't know who they are because it's just stock photo.
Basically, it's the photos that the artist didn't need to obtain rights to get, and I helped her. We looked through tons and tons of models posing, and I had a very specific image in mind of how I wanted the couple on the cover to be posing. I didn't quite find a pose as passionate as I wanted, but that was the closest one we could find, and so she silhouetted it, and we do not know the identity of those models.
But maybe if anyone happens to know someone who poses for stock photos, maybe they'll be it.
Then you can get in touch with me, and I'll give you due credit.
Yeah, and so you can read those questions and answers on CK Brooke's blog. And now I have some questions for her about the Duchess Inheritance that are not the same as the blog questions. So I'll ask you these now. And the first one I have is, well, first, actually, now that you corrected me about the sweet romance, excuse me, that the Duchess Quest is a mild romance, which I didn't know existed. That's a new category to me. Is this follow-up the mild romance too?
I would call it mild to medium, or mild.
Medium is something too.
Well, it's the same thing as when you go to an Indian restaurant and they want to know how spicy you want the food. You got sweet, mild, medium, or spicy. And
so it's like different, like 5 different gradients from like children's book to pornography.
Well,
I'm serious.
Oh man, that was funny. I don't know about that, but speaking solely in the realm of romance novels, it's like, sweet to spicy, how spicy. So
well, we all know why people read romance novels, don't we?
Exactly. Well, they like them. Yeah, they like them piping hot. A lot of people. So
except for the people who love the Amish romance, which I'm guessing those are. I'm guessing. I haven't read one, but those are the sweet romance. And then we know, for example,
actually the Amish romances, from what I heard, there's allowed to be some sex if it's between married people, but no pink parts.
Wow.
Yeah, they say no pink parts, so you can't describe the. Yeah.
That's what they said.
That's what one publisher said.
Oh boy.
So yeah, they're allowed to have it if it's between married people, and it's very kind of veiled, and it's not graphic,
Like,
but
yeah.
Yeah. So
like making love for Jesus, basically.
You're too much.
Well, now I have all these other questions, so I'm going to veer off a little bit that I'm just thinking of. Because, we were talking about the cover. So to go back to the cover, did you ever consider posing for your own cover?
Oh, no, definitely not.
Why?
It's, well, what do you mean, like it's on the back for about the author?
No,
or
I mean on the front cover.
Oh, no, like, because
like seashell mermaid outfit and like maybe like a starfish on your head and then like in the arms of somebody like hanging off of a castle or something.
Yeah, that would, first of all, I don't think authors ever pose for their own covers. Like, I don't know, maybe if they're self-publishing and that's
Ann Coulter does.
Oh, does she really?
Oh, yeah, she wears very revealing clothing in every single one of her book covers.
It took me a minute to remember who she was, but yeah. Well, okay, yeah, if you're writing nonfiction, like a memoir or something, yeah, you'll be on the cover of your book, but like not in fiction. Generally, yeah, no author that I know of that writes fiction is on their own cover, and I'm assuming this is just a joke question, but
This is no, everything I say is completely serious. So, now that you've published one book and are about to publish a second volume, do you think that people expect more out of a second book? Also, do you worry about the possible sophomore slump, which is a thing in music? I don't know if they talk about it in literature, but it's like the second time oftentimes doesn't impress as much as the third. Excuse me, as much as the first. Do you worry about that?
yeah, I call it sequelitis. And many of my favorite books and movies, well, they aren't my favorite books and movies if their sequels suck that bad. And I think that the sign of
Because we know
a
that you
great
think movies are books. We know that.
yeah, you've helped me establish that to the world and to the internet that there's this author who like thinks that books and movies are the same thing. But anyway, um, yeah, I know what you mean about sequelitis, and to me it's a sign of like a great book is when the sequel is even better. Like in Harry Potter and
I
such,
agree.
when the books just keep getting better and better because the author just keeps improving. And so, your first question was do I think that it lives up to the first book? Was that your first question in
Yeah,
that?
yeah. Well, I asked, do you
That was
think
the
people
first.
expect more out of a
Do it.
second book?
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think people absolutely expect that if you are a quality writer, then you should be improving, and your second book should blow the first out of the water, or knock it out of the park. And so, if they're already hooked by the first book, then you have a responsibility as the author to really knock their socks off with the second book. And that was my utmost priority. It had to be epic, and I already knew, where the story was going from when I first started outlining it. I knew everything that was going to happen essentially. And to be honest, for a while in the beginning stages, it was originally going to be a trilogy.
Yes.
The second two books were actually written as two separate books. But what happened was standing on their own, there was just something missing. And so finally, I edited both of those manuscripts down, put them together into one manuscript, and it was just like, whoa, this is the most epic, crazy ass thing that
Yeah.
I possibly could have done. So we feel very confident that the sequel is like, if you think the first book was good, wait till you read the second book. It's like so much more, amplified and such. And then the second part of your question was, do I worry about it having sequelitis? Or
Yes.
do I worry? Yeah. And so at this point, no, not at all. At this point, in fact, what I'm really excited about is, and we're not even, the second book hasn't even come out yet, but I'm really excited about the third book, that it's not in the same series. It's a new book that that's going to be published later this year. And that's, I'm like, I can't wait for you guys to read that one.
It's
But
so
the
funny because you are so productive and so prolific. You're too productive for the publishing cycle to catch up to you.
yeah, she told me I write faster than she can publish. So yeah, and actually she's sitting on a submission that I submitted like a month or two ago. She hasn't even had a chance to read it yet because
Well, congratulations for your
I'm giving you
continued
so much
productivity.
stuff. So thank you.
So, to my second question, that the official questions that I wrote, have you sought to continue your wide range of possible audiences for the second book in the Duchess Quest series?
Well, I have I didn't think it would be smart to, hook in that wide range for the first book and then narrow down the audience of the second book to some distinct thing. I had to keep the second book in the same, geared towards the same audience that the first book was, which is a pretty wide audience.
Yes.
However, because of that experience and because of, when you have a wide audience, then believe it or not, that makes the book harder to market because you don't really know exactly who to target. So going forward with my third book and so forth, I have narrowed down my audience. It's mainly, women readers of romance type of thing.
Mhm.
But for this book that we're talking about, it's going to be the same broad audience. If you like the first book, you'll like the second book.
So it's very commendable that maybe you didn't even know that. I think you mentioned in the first interview, you didn't really know that that would be harder to market. And at first, it
Right.
seems kind of paradoxical, but I guess it's because it's not a niche product and it's not a specialty product like most romance books are. So you can't have like a micro audience or, like you said, a target audience. But it really is admirable that that you are right, that you were writing, and that your publisher still went ahead and published something that other people may have said would be too broad in focus.
And that's another thing. Yeah, I am very blessed that she took the chance on me. You know, we recently exchanged emails about this very topic actually, and she was basically saying that, look, you know, once you're more zeroed in, you know, on this romance audience or whatever, your future books come out, you'll really hook in an audience with those, and then they might go back and read your first two books, but
Absolutely.
it's going to be
Yes.
harder to hook in the primary audience with the first two books. Um, but she insisted, you know, that she believes in me and she believes in my books, and that, you know, the first book, in her words, it demanded to be published. So I'm very blessed that she, you know, is willing to go with me, you know, all the way for that. So
Yes. It definitely helps when an author has multiple movies so people can go back and look at their catalog.
my movies, right?
Yeah,
You're
that's just a
not
joke.
gonna,
But that's serious
yeah.
because so many authors really start to benefit from their work once they hit 3 and 4, because then people
Uh-huh.
who are reading the newer offerings, they go back, and then the sales kind of
Yeah, they're
snowball from
catching
there. And
on, and right. And I mean, I think for some people, like, they just continue doing exactly what they're doing, and then someday it catches on. Like, didn't R. R. Martin, what's his name, James R. R. Martin, or the one who's the Game of Thrones guy,
yeah,
I forget his first name, but he published his first book in the series in like 1997, and it's
exactly.
just
That is a
taking off
great
just as of the
example.
past couple years, or
Absolutely.
past couple years. So so yeah, I mean, some people, they just keep doing what they're doing, and they eventually, it, you know, it pays off and people catch on and it becomes an HBO series. And then I think other people do switch genres, or they learn from their past, I won't say mistakes, but their past experiences,
Yes.
and they're able to, then people go back and they find like, oh, this old stuff is actually really good too. So that's kind of my hope, that, you know, even if the stuff that I'm writing in my 20s isn't taking off while I'm in my 20s, maybe someday I'll write something when I'm 30 or 40, and then people will go back and see, like, you know, this old stuff from 2015 and say, hey, this is actually pretty fun.
Yeah, and I think for what I don't really understand why that would be. Your publisher probably has more insight on that, but for whatever reason, that does seem to be the case more so in fiction. That you need 3, 4, 5, 6 before it just
It's
kind of
interesting, isn't it? Well,
snowballs.
you know what, Jake? It could probably also be down to shelf space.
I was actually going
Even
to say
worse than
shelf
shelf
space.
space. Yeah, because if you're just a one namer, but think about it, if I have five books out, that's, people are five times more likely to find me
Exactly.
somewhere, somehow.
Absolutely.
So it's like, you know, with quantity, you know, but my biggest concern is that with quantity must come quality, and every book
Yes.
needs to be at least as good as, if not exceeding, the quality of my previous book. And
Do you
so
think
I'm
that's
very
something that
committed.
most authors require of themselves? Do you think that's a common standard?
No, I've been too disappointed by authors whose first two or three books were phenomenal, and then just everything from there is just, they're phoning it in because now they have a contract and they're going to sell books no matter what. And
Mm.
that, to me, I've been so burned. Like, it's like I take that personally.
Yeah.
So I've been so burned by that from my favorite authors, and, you know, I'm not going to name any, but
Well, I was going
definitely,
to
like,
ask you to name some, of course.
no, I don't think that would be very professional, but definitely one of my favorite
Well,
authors.
maybe
You
you
know,
could
from
say their name in Pig Latin.
I don't actually don't know how to say it in Pig Latin, because it's, well, I'll tell you off the air,
Are you
but
telling me there's going to be no Pig Latin translation of the Duchess Quest anytime soon?
oh, I'm working on it. I'm working on
Okay, good. Well, you keep working, workhorse. Let me go to my third question, because of course we're just
it.
um. So of course you
Oh,
don't
like
want to reveal
80s.
spoilers. We know this, and you didn't reveal really
Mm.
spoilers in the blog questions either. So I'll not ask any details on action, but let's talk about scenery and settings. And this was one of my favorite pieces of the first book in the Duchess Quest series. I thought the
Cool.
settings were very engaging. I thought they were beautiful, at least in my mind, and I thought that they really were a very attractive feature of this book, whether it was the seas or in the various landscapes. So are we introduced to any different regions of the world
Oh,
in this
oh,
book,
are we
and what are they
ever?
like?
Oh, are we ever? Yeah, this, I mean, seriously, the second book makes the first book feel like peanuts. I did like the second book. We're totally exploring a whole new continent. We're going back up to sail the ocean and going through many different countries that you'll gauge what countries they're supposed to resemble in our world. It's sort of
Which I think is one of the most fun things about this, that
you're
it's
gonna
kind of
love it.
an
Yeah, yeah.
allegory, a shallow kind of allegory for not only the world today, but also historical periods in the world. And we talked about that. I don't know if
Yeah,
that was the Lost. I think actually that was the Lost interview, which f that. But
yeah.
we did talk about the different real
Right.
world inspirations for some of these lands.
Right, yeah, and there's a lot of you'll see when they explore, the equivalent like their Europe and Asia, it's their great continent. They're gonna explore all these different countries and cultures, and then that's all just in part one, and then in part two they're gonna come back and be all over, West Halvea again, and the different, we're gonna spend some time in the Baynard Plains, in the kingdom there. We're gonna see Jordinia because if you I don't think in the first book, it is the books of Jordinia, but
Hmm.
they're banned from Jordinia, so none of it actually, you don't actually see Jordinia.
That's kind
And
of funny.
so yeah, and the publisher and I were laughing because the first book cover takes place in Hepastone because it's Dany down there, on the beach and stuff,
And that's where
and
she
then
well, that's not where
and
she, that's where she grows up.
that's where she grew up. And then the second book's cover actually takes place at the castle in the Baynard Plains. So we were laughing
It's a
that
very
both of the
beautiful
books of
cover, by the way.
Thank you. And we were laughing that both of the books of Jordinia, neither of the covers take place in Jordinia. So
But you know what? Most people are not as detail oriented as you. They're probably not even going to realize that.
exactly. So now I just pointed it out for everybody to
And now
criticize.
everyone knows.
And now everybody knows my dirty little secrets. Um, but no, so you'll see a lot of really cool different societies and countries and scenery, and it's just, yeah, it'll be awesome.
Well, I'm really looking forward to it, especially looking forward to my galley copy when I can get my hands on it, and then I
Yes,
can start
yes.
writing our or structuring our next interview, which I'm
I
looking
can't
forward
wait.
to. I hope it will be as fun as the last, and I hope it doesn't get um, muted by YouTube.
Me
But
too.
CK Brooke, thank you so much for coming on and doing this little teaser for us. Please tell us if there's any other information you would like people to hear, and also tell us how they can reach you once again.
Cool. Okay. I'm at ckbrooke.com. I'm on facebook.com/ck.brooke. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at author CK Brooke. And let's see what else. I mentioned my WordPress blog earlier. Of course,
And
you can find me at
4814, your publisher, has a Facebook.
4814.com. Yeah, she has a Facebook too. Follow 4814 on Facebook. They just reached over 5,300 followers, so like 5,000
And I
followers.
think they release to that Facebook page the cover image of two.
Oh yeah, yeah. They've long since released that. They give away free books and free stuff
They
and
do.
jewelry and stuff all the time. And
And
so
also
if
they
you
announce
follow
sales there.
them,
I've seen the one
yeah,
on Valentine's.
they announce sales. They give coupons. Again, tons of free stuff, free books. Oftentimes, free books in exchange for reviews and things like that. Ebooks. They're really awesome and they're really fun to follow. They always have like giveaways and things and contests and things going on. So definitely follow them on Facebook. They are a ton of fun. If you just go on my website, ckbrooke.com, there's a handy dandy contact form, and my email address is also on there if you want to shoot me an email. And as per the second book, I will be announcing broadcasting all over social media when we have a release date. And like I said, I should know the date probably within a week.
Oh, that's
Hopefully it's not
fabulous.
less. We're actually getting the galley ready. Like she's gonna send me the draft of the PDF like any day now, and I just have to
Oh, that's so
read it
exciting!
cover to cover, fix it. It's maybe my last chance to fix like any errors on there.
Oh my God! And
And
you're so
yeah.
detail oriented. I'm
Well, can you believe I still find like, because I reread the Duchess Quest like maybe once a month or something, and I'm like banging my head against the wall because I still find, typos or just little errors or things that weren't quite said properly. But like, I'm probably the only one who will notice. But I wish I could re-edit it. But I think every author does that to themselves. I think we're all a little
and
OCD.
especially you because you so want to be a perfectionist and
Yeah.
really shape your works in a way that is exactly the way that you intended them to be and to be the best they could be. So while it may torture you, that really is a testament to what a craft this kind of is for you.
Thank you. Yeah, that and OCD.
Yeah, well, I wasn't going to mention mental illness, but now that you said that, we can say that you are mentally ill, correct?
You can definitely, yeah, you can definitely say I might have a little degree of insanity sometimes, but the creativity is a good way for me to channel it.
Yes, and in the end, I think one day you'll look back at it and will really have served a purpose and it will have served you well. But I do have one more silly
Thank
question, of
you.
course, because this is an interview with me.
Yeah.
On the scale of sweet to spicy, where would the interspecies bestiality human dinosaur romance book be?
What?
The dinosaur romance book that you told me about, the bestiality book. That's actually besting you in the Amazon sales charts, may I say. Do you
Oh
want to tell
man.
them about it?
Okay. Yeah, like apparently there's a whole genre of erotica called dinosaur erotica. I'm not joking. You can go on Amazon and like people doing it with dinosaurs, and these books are outselling me.
Doing
They
it with
are they
dinosaurs?
they are selling better than the Duchess Quest. So please, just combat the dinosaur erotica. Buy a
No.
copy of the Duchess Quest
No. Team
instead.
Dinosaur. Dinosaur power. Continue
No,
to purchase them.
no, no. Uh, and yeah,
Okay.
I just can't even wrap my head around the concept of like I don't. Is it a joke or is it like I just really don't understand? But like there's this one book that I had sent Jake the link because I just couldn't believe it, and it was
Because you were jealous of
about
its success, no?
I'm not, I wouldn't I don't know if I'd use the word jealous. I just sort of outraged, but
Maybe you
it
were
was
green
about
and
like
scaly with envy.
yeah, because I wish I could write like that. I wish I could come up with that. But it was about like dinosaurs took over the earth because they made good stock market predictions in the 80s, and then they were just like
I swear, and I'm totally going to actually take your suggestion, read the book, and definitely interview the author because that's something that I don't think that
that
we leave the society to be deprived of. We need
that was
illumination there.
that was not my suggestion.
I
I
think
think
that
that
was
was
really what you
your
intended, and that's
suggestion.
how I intend to
That
go.
was your suggestion. Don't put words in my mouth that books are movies and
I'm not going to put any words in your beak. Don't worry.
oh.
Do you remember? Wasn't there a pterodactyl in a business suit on that cover?
I don't know if it was. I thought it was a T-Rex.
Oh, maybe it was a T. Maybe I was looking at some other ones, and I think I saw a
You
pterodactyl carrying a
probably were.
briefcase.
Oh, well, yeah, it was probably from the same series because they write more than one.
Yeah, so maybe we should do some sort of bestiality book club. No, we can call it "Doing It with Dinosaurs." That the great phrase that you just said, which really wins in the alliteration. No, not interested.
I don't. Not today.
Not tonight. Okay. Well, yeah. Well, let's wrap this up because we're just blah 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 as usual. But
Yeah.
thank you very much again, and please visit, any of the ways in which she said you can learn about her works and her publisher and communicate with her. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Jacob again, CK Brooke. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful evening. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye bye. I know, like the dinosaur billionaire forced me gay.
It's so good. Oh
That's,
yeah, Force Me Gay. I
yes.
forgot that. So it's like
I,
everything great in one. Like dinosaurs, bestiality, how did they do it? Books, like how did they do it? You know, and
yeah,
then
that's what
forced
I want though.
homosexuality. I mean, there's nothing better, and that's everything you need.
And don't forget, he's a billionaire, so
Oh,
they're
and he's a
banking on that.
billionaire, so it has that
Yeah,
shades of gray.
50
Ooh,
Shades of Grey.
billionaire thing.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, and I bet it's a BDSM book too, and those are very in fashion. You know.
Yeah, exactly. It's all that BDSM stuff is like, and I don't understand the half of it because honestly, like, it's so weird. Like, if I'm reading a romance novel or something and it just gets very sensual, like I'll get all like, ooh, you know. But like if I'm just reading flat out like graphic pornography, it's
Hmm.
just like, like this does not do anything for me.
Is
And
that
so
what
I
50
think
Shades of Grey was?
I haven't read it, but from the excerpts that I've seen, it's flat out like, I mean, it's graphic literary pornography
Yeah.
basically. And that just it doesn't it's not only that I'm like, oh, I'm so above that, it's just that it actually really doesn't do anything for me because what does it for me when I'm reading romance is that I'm really in love with the characters and with their relationship and I'm really feeling their personalities and their chemistry, and you don't even need sex to
Just
like
go read
get
a
to that
freaking
point.
Amish book.
Yeah, I haven't read those either.
Yeah, I mean, well, I was also going to say about the shelf space thing that really, like, once
Hmm.
you attain like a certain mass, like, when I was a librarian, it's like those authors who just get to a certain point and then you just dominate a shelf. That goes a
Right,
long way. People see your
right.
name over and over and over again, you know?
Exactly. That's kind of my goal. I mean, that's not why I'm writing so much. I'm writing so much because I have really bad depression, and so if I don't write, then I'm depressed.
And it's certainly
That it
getting
actually just
attention for because we're talking
and
about it
yeah,
because you read it.
exactly. And I think it's only like 40 pages long or something. It's not like a full length novel, and so I think people like it's just funny and shocking and silly and like just kind of, it has such a ridiculous title that of course it's going to start selling well because people just can't believe it even exists. So I'm not sure if that many people are like, like I'm not sure if that many people are reading it like because they're actually into that stuff. I
Yeah,
think that yeah, I think that it's just a stupid marketing thing, and
it
obviously this
is.
stuff is
Yes,
all
it's kind of like the
self-published.
equivalent
Like
of like literary clickbait, you know?
yeah, exactly. It is clickbait, and again, all this stuff is self-published. No
Hmm.
publisher in their right mind is going to publish that. What is in somebody's mind? I'm trying to understand it, that like if that sexually arouses you, to
Maybe
you know what I mean? Like where are you mentally? What is it that you're actually craving if you wanted,
dinosaur.
but like we don't even know what dinosaurs like what is there's a whole it's like a whole genre because I was like reading a little from not the dinosaur billionaire forced me gay author, but there's a female author who does like a series of short dinosaur erotica, and I was I was reading an interview that she did, and she was saying that it's basically like it's called like monster porn. So it's
Monster porn?
dinosaurs, it's dragons, yetis,
Frankenstein?
like Bigfoot. Yeah, well, Frankenstein's like necrophilia, but
Oh,
like,
and he's also humanoid too, so I guess
and he's
maybe.
also yeah. So, but it's like monster, like centaurs and dragons and things like
See,
that.
I'm
There's a
totally into
whole
that
niche
because
for
like
that.
I've been starting to write porn scripts and I would love to write one that involves like monsters. Like now that I have that idea, it's kind of like let's go with it, you know?
Oh, Jacob.
Well, okay, I'm just finding my literary place.
Oh dear.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, I have to go to bed because I have
Oh,
students early in the morning tomorrow.
I'll tell your students that I said hi and